Hello, everybody. This is Bruno Andrade, Public Relations Coordinator for the Young Learners and Teenagers Special Interest Group. And here with me, I have Claire Venables, a very special guest today. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Bruno. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, Claire, I know you have been researching and doing many things concerning remote teaching, especially emergency remote teaching. And I want to
That's
know
right.
from you, what is your best advice for teachers in this time?
Right. That's a really good question, Bruno, because there is this overwhelming amount of advice that teachers have been getting. Don't you agree? You've probably noticed since the lockdown or since this sudden closing of schools, what I've certainly seen is this endless stream of blog posts with 25 digital tools that you have to be using and lots and lots of lives and webinars. And on one hand, I think the response from the community has been amazing, how everybody has just pulled together to try and come up with solutions. But at the same time, this has been extremely overwhelming for teachers who are perhaps struggling to work out, well, what is it actually that I should be doing? And while there is no clear-cut answer, as we've all realized, there is no precedent to this particular teaching context. We cannot say that it is online learning. It really is something quite different. There hasn't been the planning or development in the pedagogical project to be able to call it online learning. So like you mentioned, what I've been looking at, the term I've preferred to use is this emergency remote teaching. Now, the initial shock has passed of the situation, and we're now in a new phase, you could say, where I think, going back to your original question of what advice would I have for teachers, is keep it simple right now. There is no clear-cut answer to what we should be doing, but you will find that a lot of the things that ring true about good teaching practice in a physical classroom still ring true online. So don't feel like you have to throw everything out of the window. You still need to have a really clear structure, really good planning of your lesson. You also need to think about adaptation to your individual students' needs. And of course, keep assessment in mind. How are you going to sort of assess the success of the learning outcomes that you've planned? So I think there's a lot of things that we can draw on from what we already know, and then start incrementing other techniques and tools and this kind of thing. That would be my best advice.
Yeah, that's great. And we all know that you've collaborated in a very special publication for
Yeah.
young learner teachers, the Playbook.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about it?
I can. The Playbook, Bruno, came out of a feeling of extreme helplessness, to be honest with you, because I have a big community of young learner teachers that I'm part of, and I saw how desperate people were. I've watched a lot of colleagues lose their jobs. I've watched colleagues. I've had phone calls from teachers really late at night in tears, and a lot of people looking to me for advice on what to do. And in the beginning, I did not know. Teaching online is something that I never thought that I'd be doing. But I knew two things rang true for me. I really believe in education, that every child has the right to ongoing education, even through these difficult, challenging times. And I also believe that teachers need and deserve support. So I teamed up with some colleagues of mine, and we pooled our knowledge from different areas, and we started researching and putting together some sound advice, I guess, and a framework that teachers could potentially use to do exactly what you said before. Instead of offering, a million possibilities, we said, start with this. Just do this. And that's what we've kind of done in this playbook. It kind of leads you through both what we know about the way children learn language, and the way children interact with educational tools online. to come up with this sort of very simple framework that was to be used initially in response to this crisis situation.
Yes, it's really important that we take care of our kids, and especially there's something in the playbook that a session about safeguarding which called my attention, and I really liked the content in that. So I want to know from you, what was it like to think as a teacher trainer and a teacher that takes care of the well-being of your students?
Well, the safeguarding section was one that we got from a wonderful professional called Jen Dobson, who has a blog post on this topic that you should definitely check out. And Jen contributed this content, which was for me very eye-opening. Safeguarding of children online is not being taken seriously enough. In my opinion, it seems to be an afterthought rather than a key component of any good online teaching and learning solution. And in this section, it talks about a lot of things that I think teachers really aren't considering, such as the use of children's images online. It talks about working with parents to make sure that everybody is on board in terms of safeguarding children online, because parents are going to play a big role in this as well, making sure that children have a space to work where nothing in the background will be seen or heard that could potentially be inappropriate in a live lesson. All of these kinds of factors that when we as teachers start delivering a lesson, perhaps it isn't the first thing in our mind. We're thinking about the activities that we're going to use and the way we're going to get them interacting. And we don't think about, Jen, I'll refer back to the section in the playbook again. Jen actually makes a very nice comparison between the way we look after children in a physical classroom and the way we have to do the same thing online. You would never let anyone wander into your classroom, right? At your school. From the street. The same thing, we need to make sure that no one can wander into our online meeting rooms. So there needs to be settings in the online platform that you're using to make sure that can't happen. So that's just one of the examples of the way we need to start thinking much more seriously about ways of making sure that we're looking after our learners.
Yeah, wonderful. And if you, teacher, want to keep your sanity, just read this playbook because it contains great advice, great ideas on how to work in this time of pandemic. Thank you so much for doing this, Claire. I had a wonderful time.
It's always lovely to talk to you too, Bruno. Thanks very much for having me on, and good luck with your teaching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.